Hi, this is Ryan from the Kern River Fly Shop and the Buhler Brothers. And our beginning fly tying video today is on dubbing and how to get it from your package onto your hook. Like Rob was talking about in the previous video about dubbing, there's a couple different kinds. You know, there's coarse, there's smooth. Most natural materials are smooth, most synthetics are a little more coarse. Today we're going to be using, have a simple little caddis pupa pattern here that has a rabbit or hare dubbing in the first part, and then an ice dubbing, a synthetic, in the second part. In the first part, the natural material, we're going to use a hare's mask. And you can see that it's actually a real hare's mask. And we cut off a lot of the hair down here and use it. I'll cut it off and I'll put it in a little cup to make it more convenient to use. Now, if you don't want to use that mask, you can buy packs of it with it already cut up and colored if you like. A lot of people think that the hare's mask is a lot better than the bag dubbing. I'm not sure myself. I use both. The second part of the fly is going to be with synthetic dubbing. This is Ice Dub Peacock. It's one of our favorite dubbings to use, Rob and I. And it's probably our most used color is the peacock. And that'll be for the second part of the fly. We're also going to be using a rib. It'll be a red rib with its ultra wire, a UTC wire. You can use any color you have, whatever you have. It's better to use what you have instead of not tying at all. The hook we're going to use, I'm using a size 12 scud hook. It's a 2457, but again, use whatever you like. For this pattern, I tie it usually down in a 16 or an 18, but for the video we did a little larger. And the thread, we're going to be using a black uni thread and a 6/0. Again, use whatever color you have or size you have. It's better to tie than not tie at all. So we're going to get going here. We're going to show you an example of how to dub the two different type of dubbings, a natural and a synthetic. So let me get a bare hook in here. And I like to fish this, like I say, usually in a smaller size, especially spring through early summer when the caddis are on the water, but it actually fishes really nicely year-round. Okay, we'll get our black thread going here. Start right at the 50% mark in the middle. Cut off our excess, our tag end. I'll wrap back. There we go. So we're going to start, and when we come back up, we're going to leave 20% or 25% of that hook bare. That's going to be where we're going to put our second material, the synthetic material. There we go. So we're going to get our red rib on there. Let me get a little piece off here for you. One thing to remember with the rib, if you're using your scissors, it'll dull them really quickly. So make sure you get a designated pair. So I have these here that I use on my wire so I know that I'm not dulling up a really nice good pair. There we go. Get that thread or that rib going. I like to put it on the side of the hook facing me and just wrap down. And we're going to use that rib to wrap through the body to help hold in that natural material so it doesn't all come loose after your first cast. So I'll get a little bit of that rabbit or hare dubbing. One thing about the natural materials, they're really soft. It's easy to pull off just a little bit to get a really nice thin dub in there. Oftentimes you'll find a big clump right here. You can go ahead and take it, just take your time with your fingers and spread it out a little bit. There we go. Okay. I come in, and like I said, I like to do just a little bit. One thing about the dubbing, you like to have a nice cup of water to get your fingers wet. Just put them in just barely, just get them a little bit damp. Let me dry them off just a little. And it'll help you control that dubbing where you can pull off just a little and it'll stick to your finger. There you go. One thing we want to do when we're pulling it off, pull off just a little bit, and we're going to come over, and you're basically going to take it and twist it and squeeze it onto the thread. Most of the thread have a little bit of wax on there, so it'll help that material stick to it. One common mistake is everyone will pull off too big a clump and go to put it on, and then the next clump will be real little behind it and thin. You'll get this in the middle of your body, and it makes your fly look really weird. So make sure you just put a little bit at a time. If you get too much, just take your time and pull some off. There we go. Get a little bit more here to get started. And you can see right up here there's a little space left, and it's hard to dub up by the hook and the vise. So get it down, just kind of push it up. You can slowly twist and push, and your dubbing will come right up in there really nice and make it easy to get up in there. There we go. Now when you're wrapping around, we'll start down here and just do one wrap right next to each other. Take your time. And if you want a particularly fat body, you can come and wrap back over what you've already done. Let me get a little more dubbing here for us. There we go. Again, put it on and twist. And just kind of twist and spin that dubbing on there. Push it back up. We're going to need a little bit more. Remember, just take your time. If you get too much, you can take it off. So it's better to put a little on than too much, and then be able to add more. Let's see how this does for us. Again, if you want to go thin, you can just go right next to each other. But if you want it a little thicker, go back right on top. Do a couple forward, then back on top. 2 forward, 1 back, and it'll bring us right to where our thread mark was. There we go. It's a good shaped caddis body there, and you can see all these hairs sticking out. A lot of people like them. Get a lot of movement in the water, attract air bubbles. If you don't, you can pull them right off, or you can cut them. You can see how easily that dubbing will pull away if you don't have that rib in there. So now we're going to take our rib and we'll spiral wrap it up the body. We try and get evenly spaced wraps. It looks real nice. So the thread will do a couple things for us. Gives a little segmentation like a lot of bugs. It also gives a little color, which at times can be a trigger for the trout. But more importantly, it helps hold that dubbing in there. So after your first fish, it all just doesn't pull off and come apart and you lose your fly. There we go. Okay, our last part, we're going to use a different dubbing, a synthetic, the Ice Dub Peacock. Before this material came out, we would put a peacock, a natural peacock right here, excuse me. I forgot what I was going to say. We'll put a natural peacock right here. It was harder to work with. It wasn't as durable, and so it'll fall apart quicker. And so when they came out with this, Rob and I right away started using it for almost everything where we put that natural peacock material in there. So pull a little bit out of your bag. Let's see here. I had some out, but I think I lost it. Oh, there we go. Okay. You can see in this, it's not as smooth. It's harder to get a little bit. It kind of pulls apart. Sometimes you got to tear it to get just a little bit. Again, get your fingers damp just a little. It'll help work with this material. When you're working with most synthetics, you got to be a little more forceful when you're spinning it onto the hook. So when you're doing it, get a little more effort in there. And you can see how it's a little clumpier. It's harder to get that real thin. But if put enough effort to get squeeze really tight and spin it, and it'll dub down really nice there for you so you can get it spun around the hook. Here we go. And we're going to fill in that spot there and then come back. I'm going to go right over it until I got my thread bare. Instead of having a rib, I'm going to use my thread to go 1, 2 right through it up to the eye. And that thread's going to help hold that synthetic material in there. And now you can see how we got a really nice two-tone body like most caddis are. And the material up here, the synthetic's always a little rougher, and little edges hang out like the little legs of real caddis. So you can pull it out a lot if you like, or you can cut it off, be real smooth. We're going to leave it a little rough there. Come in, I'll do about 4 wraps, and then we'll do a half hitch. Actually, I'm going to do 2 or 3 of those. Or you can do a whip finish with your whip finish tool. Here's 2, snug it, we'll do 1 more. And there you go. Really nice caddis pattern using a natural material and a synthetic material. So remember, when you're using that natural, it's a little smoother and softer, and it's easy to get a smaller, thinner body. And then the synthetic, it's a little coarser, and you got to use a little more effort to get it on there. Go ahead and try both those. They're readily available in any of the fly shops. Get a few different colors and try dubbing them on and practice your dubbing. Try and get a nice smooth body and then a nice little more dense head. And hopefully we'll be able to get back out there on the water soon and fish these patterns. And hope you're all safe, and hopefully we'll be able to see you soon up on the river. See you later.